But because of that, we'll have to, when we start getting to the point that we have quizzes to review, which will start next week, right when you sit down, you'll be starting on your quiz. And then we'll go over topics and things like that. So the first thing I want to cover, oops, that's not the first thing I want to cover. All right, everybody close your eyes. Okay, this is what I want to cover. You can open them now. All right, so this was at the very end of last week, and because I was throwing a lot of stuff at you, I just want to reiterate the schedule adjust deadline. And the reason I want to go back over it is it's a really important date, and when you're working with students, it's going to be very important to remind them of the add drop deadline, especially our transfer students. So the last day that you can add, drop, change grading basis, substitute, change a unit value, or withdraw is one deadline, and it's no later than 11:59 on the 10th day of the semester. So this spring semester schedule adjustment deadline was January 31st. The 17-18 catalog is not printed yet, so I don't know what the add drop deadline, I could probably figure it out, but I'm not sure what it is for fall. But as soon as I know, I'll be reminding you of that date rather than saying the 10th day of semester. And when it comes time to the final, and I will ask you this question, I'd like you to know what the actual date is so that when you're working with students, instead of saying 10th day of semester, you're just going to be able to quickly tell them what the add drop deadline is. It'll be a little easier for them to remember that date versus remembering the 10th day of the semester. Okay, any questions on that? All right. So the topics for today, we're going to talk about unit requirements, and we'll have an activity to go along with that. We're going to talk about residency requirements, we'll talk about GPA requirements, and then we're going to talk about freshman competency requirements in mathematics and writing. But before we do that, I'm just going to go over the Wacky Sock Wednesday thing. Okay, so I won't be recapping every week, but since last week I hadn't thought it all the way through, not everyone got to see the socks of the week. So session 1 socks were stars and stripes. And from here on out, I'll be showing a slide with me wearing the socks of that day so that you all can see. So today's are Valentine's. Aren't those cute?
Oh my God.
So don't forget that the quiz at the end will be a true-false. And it will be asking you about both one of the topics covered for that session and the socks that I was wearing. So it'll be a true or a false. And there's a hint, there's a bigger printout of the training outline that you received in your binders, I believe, please? The training outline? Okay, so that might be a handy way for you to keep track of this information. All right, any questions on that? Okay. All right. Okay, so here are all 9 graduation requirements listed. And all 9 graduation requirements can be found in the catalog. This year's catalog, the pages are colored tan or light brown. So all 9 graduation requirements are in those pages. Over the coming weeks, we're going to go over each one of them in detail. We're going to start today with Unit 6, or Requirement 6, which is unit requirements. So if you go to page 89, that page is wrong up there. Sorry about that, that's the wrong page number up there, but it's 89. So you can see that the unit requirements are broken into 3 different areas, area A, B, and C. So area A goes over the overall unit requirement. So this refers to the minimum number of units needed for a bachelor's degree. And as you can see in area A, the minimum number of units needed depends on what type of degree the student is getting. So you can see that the Bachelor of Arts degree in Applied Arts and Sciences requires 120 minimum. But if you look down and look at the Bachelor of Music degree, you can see that they require 132 units minimum. Item B is upper division unit requirement. This is referring to the total number of upper division units that are needed for the bachelor's degree. And remember that upper division is 300 level and above. And then area C goes over unit limit totals. So this is referring to the maximum units in certain areas. So an example is maximum number of credit by exam, maximum number of special studies courses. Item D, flipping to page 90, talks about units in one department maximum. So this rule only applies to certain degrees. So if it's applicable, it's referring to the max units that you can earn from one department, and usually that's the major department. So like if you look under item D at French, if you're a French major, then the maximum number of units in French courses is 49 units. Okay, so if you flip back and you look at items A, B, and then items D that we were just looking at, you're going to see that this information is categorized by the type of degree, not by the major. So it's categorized by the type of degree. Before we look at the specific unit requirements, let's first figure out where to find what type of degree each major corresponds to. Okay, so there's two places to find the degree type. First of all, you could look at pages 102 through 103 in the summary of curricula section, types of degrees offered by major. So if you look at the gerontology major towards the bottom of page 102, you can see that it's a Bachelor of Arts degree in Liberal Arts and Science. Okay? So the second place to find it is in the catalog under that major department section. So if we use history for our example, if you go to page 281, and if you look at history, right under the title History Major, so on the right-hand side about halfway down, you can see that it's listed right under the title, and now we know that the history major is a Bachelor of Arts degree in Liberal Arts and Sciences. So now that we know that, we can answer the next few questions. So flipping back to page 89, what is the overall unit requirement? So who can tell me what the overall unit requirement for the Bachelor of Arts degree in Liberal Arts and Sciences is? 120. What is the upper division unit requirement? 40. Does everybody see where that is? Okay. So this requirement, the upper division unit requirement, is by type of degree. So this is different than the minimum that's needed in the upper division major. Okay? So if you go back to page 281, and you're looking at history, and you're looking at the word major, it's underneath graduation writing assessment requirement. This tells you that the history major requires a minimum of 30 upper division units. Okay, so they need 30 upper division units for their major, but they needed 40 upper division units for their type of degree. So that 40 units will include the 30 units needed for their major, and then they'll need those additional units to get to that 40. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. So now we can look in our other area. Does units in one department requirement apply? We're looking at page 90 for that. Does units in one department apply? Can anyone answer? No. The answer is no? Okay. So if we look at page 90, under area D, it's units in one department. What type of degree is history? You got it. So then the answer is yes, correct? Does that make sense?
What is the major over there? Is history over there? Like, yeah, it's that degree, but that was my.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But in
So-
the A through J, is it in
Right, so let's read the first paragraph. So underneath Bachelor of Arts degree in Liberal Arts and Sciences, units in one department, it says the maximum number of units in any one department, lower and upper division combined, which can be applied towards the Bachelor of Arts degree in Liberal Arts and Sciences is 48, except for those majors outlined below. Okay, because they all, if you notice, they all have more than 48 allowed. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. All right, so now, let's see. Okay, so remember that the max units in one department only is referring to certain types of degrees. So it's referring to Bachelors of Arts in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and then if you don't see it in the specific list, then whatever the major is, like our history, then it's just automatically that 48. Okay, but now we're gonna look at a different type of degree. So let's look at the criminal justice major. So turn to page 208. And now knowing how to find the type of degree, somebody please tell me what type of degree you'd be getting under the criminal justice major. It's a Bachelor of Science, it's a BS degree in Applied Arts and Sciences. Does everyone see that? Perfect. Okay, and because it's a Bachelor of Science degree, it is not going to have a maximum number of units. Okay, so remember that on page 90, area D, when we're talking maximum number of units, we're only referring to a very specific type of degree. Okay? All right, any questions so far? Great. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to page 89. And we're gonna take another look at item C. So now, unit limit totals, which is what's talked about in item C, apply to all students regardless of their degree. Okay, these are unit limit totals and they are applicable to all students. So for example, the maximum number of units that you can use credit, no credit are 15. Okay, so you get 15 maximum credit, no credit, and this applies to all students regardless of the type of degree. For your major, your minor, and some parts of GE, you can't take them credit, no credit, you have to take them letter grade. Okay, something else that refers to, or is applicable to all students is the maximum units you can earn from a transferable community college and junior college. Okay, this number is 70 units. So what this means is that we're going to allow a maximum of 70 units coming from a community college to be applied towards the overall minimum needed for the degree. So most of our majors require 120 units. That's the minimum, is 120 units. So we will take 70 units and apply them towards the 120. If a transfer student has over 70 units from a community college, all of those units will still be counted in the GPA, and all of those classes will still clear requirements, but only 70 units will go towards the minimum for the degree. Does that make sense? Yes?
For the credit no credit courses, are those 15 credits, the units, not including the ones that must be taken for credit or no credit?
That's correct.
Okay.
We only count, if you change a course from a letter grade to credit, no credit, then it goes towards that 15 count. If it's only offered credit, no credit, then that won't work against that. That's a great question. Anyone else? Okay. All right, so any questions at all? Because now we're going to dive right into a unit exercise. All right, perfect. Okay, so I'll have the TIs hand these out. You can each, I think there's enough for you to each to have one, but maybe if you just work with the person sitting next to you. So there's 3 scenarios. So what I want you to write down the answer, and if you can, write the page number where you found the information. Because again, that's gonna help you on quizzes and or the final. And then we'll go